Hi, and welcome to the 64 Doors. Today we're going to open door 55. This archetype has to do with freedom and liberation, and it's one of the most important gene keys. It has to do with the trust in life and the mutation that humanity is going through right now. So let us start with the body graph. And we can see that the sun right now is in Pisces in gate 55, and we have the earth in Virgo in gate 59. The design part of the cross is the 34 and the 20, and this is the cross of the sleeping phoenix. They can look quite busy, running around being busy with this 34-20. And of course, it also has this beautiful potential for liberation and freedom and for intimacy and transparency. We can look at it in the human design way of explaining it. So it says the sleeping phoenix rises from the ashes. The energy of your cross is pushed forward by the energy channeling straight from the sacral to the throat. This energy can be very productive. Within your cross, however, is the energy that is moody and oscillates between the glass being full, half full, and half empty. Your challenge is to ride the wave and find solace in the half-full glasses along the way. You are learning much about the process and quality of emotions and have the gift to teach this to others. So very beautiful. This is spirit, sexuality, power, and the now are the key words. And when we look at it, we also want to see where the 55 is the channel is in the body graph. You see here, the 55 comes from the emotional center and it meets the 39 in the root center. And we have so many of this in the last few weeks. We had the 4130 and we had the 1949 and now we have the 3955. So we have been in this kind of energy that is connecting the root center with the emotional center for the last month. And if we look at it in Richard Rudd's explanation about the channels, we see that the 3955 is the channel of emoting, a design of moodiness. So that's what we were just reading, that it has these waves to it. And sometimes things seem very, very low and very, very difficult and almost, a kind of desperation where it feels like spirit is almost dying or spirit is choked. And then we have the highs where it feels like, where spirit is speaking through us. And in my own experience, I have the 39, it's my north node in line 6. And my mother has the whole channel. And I have a completely open emotion center. So she was basically, overpowering me. You could say I was compromised in my 39 because she had a complete channel. And for me, that was a challenge as a child because I could feel like my emotions were, her emotions were so overwhelming for me so that I couldn't even feel what I felt basically. And that it's kind of difficult, especially when you have an open emotional center, to live with somebody that is in a constant wave between desperation or, like helplessness in a way, and then this high connection with spirit and even having spirit coming through you. So that is something that I learned kind of the hard way. And then where I had to discover my 39 more on my own when I've been in my own aura. So here we see the quick reference theme is the secret to your life is to learn to appreciate the lows as much as the highs. So that is easier for somebody who has this channel. But if you don't have it and you have an open emotional or even an open root, then it's a lot of pressure that comes in and it's kind of hard to appreciate when even, comes like a pressure from the outside. And then it says you can let go of wanting to control love. Only then will you experience the freedom you seek. So that is important too, that you can't really force liberation. You can't really force freedom. It's more like something that happens to you. And the higher frequency of the 55 is freedom, and the higher frequency of the 39 is liberation. So we can also go and just look at it here in the living library. Let's see, here we have it. So here we call it the channel of romance, and it's emptiness in the, you know, in the lower, because you're on a wave and everything is kind of hopeless, and you don't really even feel like spirit is there, so it feels empty. And then of course the higher frequency is about romance and love, because that is when spirit is speaking through you, and you're actually trusting life. This is the most important thing with this 55. It has a little bit to do, we were saying this a couple of weeks ago when we were in the 13, we're saying the 13 listens to everything that's going on in the world, and it still feels optimistic. So there is something similar to this 55. It's more like an inner knowing when we have it in, when we it's not the G center. Now we are, you know, we are in the emotional center. So it's more like a knowing that you can trust, that even if you look at the world and everything that is going on, you know, the dragonfly is the metaphor. It's also there, you can see it in the dream arc, it's actually the shadow fear key. The dragonfly lives underwater without wings. It's like a little, it's like a nymph for most of its life, and then one day it kind of climbs up and it transforms and it gets wings and it becomes a dragonfly. So that is a little bit what we are, as humanity, what we are seeing right now. We are seeing, you know, everything that is going on, and it looks like it's getting worse and worse and worse, but knowing that one day, you know, that we are actually preparing for that metamorphosis, like that change, that mutation that is going to happen, and that there has to be destruction of what doesn't work in order for the new to come through. So that is a lot, that's a lot, the 55, to actually trust in the chaos, to trust in everything that is going on, and knowing that spirit comes through the cracks basically, and that there is a higher perspective of it all. So actually let us go back and look a little bit into, again, the living library. So it's thunder over fire. It's a very powerful combination. So thunder over fire, and here it says, you know, awareness penetrates deep into the body, rise up and meet the highest frequency. So this is also the kind of the dragonfly. It tells us that it has to come like from the very densest, from the very physical. The mutation happens in the emotional center, but also like the emotional body is part of like the physical makeup of what we are. So it's really like it has to penetrate deep inside the body, deep inside the DNA, and then it can rise up. So this is a mutation that comes from all the layers of our makeup, of what we are. And it's, you know, it's a spiritual thunder that it can ignite this passionate fire. You can see you can also see it's Pisces, and here is the programming partner is the 59. That is it's about sexuality, and it's about intimacy. So we can also see how the 59 is a programming partner, how our, you know, how our sexuality or how our urges in the lower chakras can keep us trapped and far away from freedom, and how the dishonesty or, you know, the lack of intimacy there can keep us in victimization, where the dragonfly is only a dream, is nothing else than that. And you also see that it's the programming partner to the 49, which we were in a couple of weeks ago, that has to do with the patterns of reaction, the patterns of violence that we are also kind of stuck in, you could say. And when it comes to the 55, so there is something that Richard Rudd created last year that is called a freedom retreat, which is one day that it can be done. This usually is going to be the ambassadors that can put it together. So it's one day where we have an exploration through Gene Key 55 that has to do with exploring freedom. So basically the very, you know, simple question comes, you know, where are you longing for more freedom? Where could you be more free? And it takes you into different ways of exploring this, in groups, by yourself, with nature, using the dream arc. And it also often makes you pick a city that is kind of your freedom city, so that you will take from the deck of cards, for example, one city that you're going to contemplate for 55 days that comes to you with a message, and you can use to, you know, you can have the dream arc and use the animal to contemplate it, or you can just, you know, anything that makes you really go into that city and help that unlock you to your freedom, to your liberation. So that is something that we're going to see more of, I think, later this year, once we are through the activation sequence and the deep dive, and also when the star pearl is released. Because if you don't trust in life, that is really the 55. I think it says here as well. Let's see, my internet is okay. So it says ultimate freedom has nothing to do with your life circumstances. It is the freedom of allowing the self to dissolve into the waves of the ocean. It is the freedom that is born through one's absolute trust in life. So that kind of gives me, you know, kind of goosebumps, because I also feel like this is very close. So my life's work is Jinky 2, which is also about that complete trust, even the trust in fear, the trust in everything. The dragonfly, this trusting even before the wings come out. So this week for you can be two questions, you know, where could I be more free? Where do I long to become more free? And the other question is, you know, where can I trust more, or where do I not trust? And to go into that contemplation. So I wish you a really beautiful week with this powerful, very, very powerful 55th gene key. And I would love to hear your, you know, your experiences with it. Thank you.